Yeah, I think we. Okay, we're all getting going. Good morning. It is 11:30 a.m. on Thursday, February 12th, 2026. And this meeting of the Sandpoint Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee is now called to order in White Pine Conference Room at City Hall, 1123 West Lake Street, Sandpoint, Idaho. For the record, I am Committee Chair Kate Huseman presiding. Also present are committee members Molly O'Reilly, Aaron Billings, Bradley Peterson, Sally Lankamer. Katie. Okay, that's who's here today. In addition to our committee, our staff liaison, Associate Planner Eric Brubaker, Council Liaison Kyle Schreiber, and Community Planning and Development Admin Mandy Brown, who is serving as our clerk today, are also in attendance. I would also like to introduce Sam Chin, who will become our clerk in the future. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our January 8th, 2026 meeting. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Or second.
Did you get those, Mandy? Okay. Anyone opposed? The motion passes and the minutes are approved as presented. So as our first item of old business, we will hear from Bradley Peterson, who will give us an update on the Downtown Revitalization Plan Phase 3 Citizen Advisory Committee.
I've got a big update this time. Hannah Anderson, the project manager, has reached out to us and we are working on scheduling our first meeting.
By us, you mean the Citizen Advisory Committee?
Yes, the 3 or 4 people that are on the technical advisory group. So hopefully by the end of the month, we will have our first meeting, and next month I'll finally have something to report back on.
Cool. Anything else you want to add to that, Bradley?
Nope, just excited to start working on this project.
Cool. Yeah, I'm excited for you too. All right, well, moving on, our next item on the agenda is our discussion and adoption of our list of pedestrian priority streets. But because of actions by City Council at their meeting last week, we're going to let our City Council member, Kyle Schreiber, first describe to us what Council is looking for as far as what is listed in item number 6, future working group needs based on council priorities. Am I putting you on the spot here, Kyle, or do you have a sense of what you would like to fill us in on?
Yeah, I'm prepared to talk. I think if anybody who watched the council meeting knows there wasn't a ton of conversation and there was a little bit of confusion. So I'd definitely like it to be a conversation more than just me telling you what we want to hear from you. Generally speaking, I think you guys are already doing a lot of the things that I hoped for, which is the bike and pedestrian priority networks. And the other things that we talked about were perhaps the street standards, which would also be part of the multimodal transportation plan. Basically, it sounds like there's desire from council to update the multimodal transportation plan. We just started our strategic planning yesterday, so I can't say for certain that that's going to make it into the strategic plan, but it sounded like there was enough support for that to move forward. So the things that I would like to see personally, and again, I can't speak for the whole council, but I was very pleased to hear that you guys have made so much progress on the priority networks. In addition to that, the sidewalk and street frontage ordinance review, it sounds like a great idea. That's definitely something that I think should be included with that multimodal transportation plan effort. And I guess in terms of working group needs, we often have engineering consultants help us with these big master plans, just because they're so specific in nature and how you write them. But oftentimes those consultants don't have the local knowledge. There isn't oftentimes there isn't a transportation expert in town that can help us write these plans. So what I would love to hear from this committee is all of that local knowledge that that expert probably isn't going to have, that we can then use to guide that expert in updating the plan. And it's sort of hard to describe what that local knowledge is, right? It's obviously what don't we like about what exists, but also what do we like, and then what are examples of how other places are doing things that maybe we should consider doing ourselves. So when we're looking at that sidewalk and street frontage ordinance review, I think it's really a matter of obviously what don't we like about our current ordinance, and what would we want to change, but also what do we like and how can we do a better job of making that happen. Also, if we do have changes that we want to make, who's getting it right out there in other cities like ours?
So if I may, I want to jump in on that because it's something we talked about the other day as a primer for this, and just to acknowledge that Holly joined the meeting and we had a good conversation. And one of the things that I think from the staff and council perspective, we would love to take some of these in lieu of dollars that have been collected and try to turn those into projects. Some of that is a little bit difficult because the dollars have to be spent within the quarter section in which they were collected. That's an example of something that we could talk about city policy, and is that working for us, or do we have too many half projects sitting around when we could fund a full project and prioritize it? So I just want to jump in on that piece. I think it was a point of great agreement that it's an opportunity for the committee.
Kyle.
Okay.
What?
I'm aware that we have on Zoom a citizen visitor who would like at some point to be able to speak. And I'm not sure there's any way for you to know that.
I don't have any citizen visitors, right?
We don't see any here, Molly.
Well, she claims she's there.
She would be able to category.
If somebody's not on the panel, can you see them?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I just texted that you can't see her, so ignore it for now. And this is a really good discussion, and I think updating the pedestrian priority streets will help us know where, will give us a basis for evaluating where to spend some in lieu funds. So I think we're moving towards that, and that's great. Be good to get some sidewalk.
I had a little different perspective, Kyle, when I listened to the city council discussing the various committees. My impression was that the priorities we had sent to city council were too broad, that we were doing things with the MTMP that maybe staff and council should be working on first. My impression was they wanted smaller, more specific recommendations, like an SUP launch that one of the other committees was working on. So while I hear what you say about, I'm pleased you're happy with the work we've done, and wow, some of our working groups in particular have done an immense amount of work, especially with respect to the MTMP. I'm not, and we will get to a discussion of that later on this meeting, but I think we could use some direction as to how we can focus our work so it provides useful information to council. And maybe there's things we should be working on right away, or maybe there are others that council just isn't ready for us to hear, or they want staff to work on first, or they want to work on first. So I could get some direction on that, I think that would be useful.
Yeah, that's a little tricky. Like I said, I can't speak for all of council, and we didn't get a strong consensus at the council meeting, so, I agree that the feedback was that these bullet points were very specific, but also pretty broad. And so I think one of my hopes for this meeting was to get a little bit better of an idea of what specific things this committee was hoping to accomplish out of these. Again, I do get the impression that we have support in the council to take a second look at the MMTP and ensure that everything is aligns with our new comp plan. So the transportation plan was adopted prior to the comp plan, which is kind of backwards to how things are supposed to work. You do your comp plan first, and then your strategic planning, then your master plans. And so I think now that we have a new comp plan, it warrants taking a second look and making sure that the transportation plan is in line with the comp plan, and looking at how that fits in with our strategic plan that we're just starting on making right now. So it's a little difficult for me to give specific direction because that might become more clear through our strategic planning.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I think that the groundwork for, so like the street and frontage, sidewalk and street frontage ordinance review, the groundwork is kind of, you know, that local knowledge of what does the community like, what is working, what isn't working. Something that somebody, I think our last transportation engineer was from Salt Lake City, so they had limited time to really get to know our community and understand what our community wanted. A lot of transportation engineering is pretty, you know, calculations out of a book, so there isn't a ton of room for alternatives, but I think bringing that local knowledge to the table when we're ready to get to that point will be crucial to making sure that the plan ends up being something that the community supports.
So let me give you a specific example. Eric had mentioned guidance on the expenditure of in lieu funds, which is something we've looked at before, neighborhood by neighborhood, or area by area. They're supposed to be spent within the area where we receive them. The portion of the city where we receive them is our understanding. And we had looked at how those might be spent. We had proposed having neighborhood group meetings or area meetings to ask residents how they should be spent. But the feedback we got, and this is before any of you were involved with us, so it's not on you, but it was that the city was gonna do that, or they had open houses, they didn't want us to have other ones, so that's the kind of thing that we need more specific feedback on before I'm gonna be willing, at least, to feel comfortable making any more specific recommendations.
Okay, I definitely understand, and that was something a question that I had identified to ask you all today was to develop a strategic outreach plan and communication policy. What exactly was, I need a little bit more information about what your vision for that is, and what we're talking about there.
Okay.
And so that sounds like that's one example of reaching out to the people in those squares to see how they want their in lieu money spent.
Okay. So I'm just wondering if we're really on item 6 number now, future working group needs based on council priorities. What are your thoughts about what we would want to do, or how we would want to change those priorities that we sent to council before? Anyone have other thoughts on this?
You know, I'd like to just jump in and try to clarify like our opportunity as it relates to the multimodal, because that was one of our biggest bullet points, right? And The reality is, until such time as council takes that up and starts picking at pieces of it. One of those pieces that was discussed, and there seems to be some general consensus on, is can we ultimately have multimodal updated to have street sections in it? And street sections are wonderful things because they speak to our development applications, which is private sector development and what we require. And they guide our public capital improvement projects. And they do a lot of heavy lifting up front. And then they make it easy after the fact. And I love something Holly said the other day, and I just really like to have her jump in on the multimodal, because that is not what Public Works is doing right now. So we can't get into the weeds and start digging in on these pieces until such time as the city takes that up. But what we can do, and this is what I thought, there's a ton of value in the user experience piece, and in your words is much better than in my words. If Holly, you could speak to that, I think, are we on the same page?
The multimodal transportation plan is kind of the elephant in the room. We adopted it in 2020 or 2021, so it's been a few years, and you revisit your plans every 5 years. But there are many parts of that plan that we'd like to improve. Council's working on their strategic plan. One of their outcomes is very likely to be an update to that plan. This committee could.
Sorry, Holly, what's the strategic plan relative to the multimodal transportation plan?
So, the way our city functions, and many do, and this is by state law, is we have a comprehensive plan for our entire city. So that's the broad plan that our whole city works off of, comprehensive plan. We adopted that in 2024. The strategic plan is council's plan as an outcome of that comprehensive plan. It's the next planning level. Council sets their strategic initiatives on how they're going to work on the comp plan, and they set staff's working priorities. The next level of planning is a master plan. And we have many of these plans for all of our different divisions. So we have a water system master plan, a wastewater master plan, and the multimodal transportation plan is our streets, sidewalks, pedestrian, bicycle master plan. So that all of these tie together and they get more specific and detailed as you develop them. So councils, and they're setting their priorities, sets staff work directives, staff workloads, priorities. And so the strategic plan outcome could be to update that multimodal plan. Staff works off of the master plans. So our initial or our existing, priorities are working off those master plans once they're developed.
Is that yearly that they set strategic plan?
So your typically your strategic plan is 5 to 7 years that they work on that. And then your master plans, it depends on the plan, but 5 to 10 is how long they live.
So I'm still a little confused about where we fit in. Is council still working on a strategic plan which would affect the MTMP, and therefore they are not ready for us to look at the MTMP?
So I to clarify that, we are working on staff's directive right now is working off the existing multimodal transportation plan. Until council directs staff to update the plan, we're working off of our existing. We have other priorities and other workload objectives. It's very likely that council is going to direct staff to update the multimodal, and that's where this committee can position itself to get ahead of that, because we see it coming down the pipeline. So instead of working on efforts to make an amendment to the multimodal transportation plan that we're not ready for yet, this committee could work on setting us up for success and asking the questions ahead of an update. So one gap that Kyle mentioned in the multimodal, he from his perspective, the plan missed the community experience. So very traffic engineering, they looked at a lot of data, but they kind of missed Sandpoint's culture, the experience of pedestrians, the experience of bicycles out there. That could be something this committee's working on in preparation for an update. So when we do update the plan, we're ready, we're prepared, we've collected data and data's gonna be the best word for it. We've collected data on what's missing from that plan, from the pedestrian and bicycle experience. So looking at all of those pedestrian and bicycle networks from a priority perspective, walking them and identifying what's uncomfortable about this pedestrian route. What do we like about it? What do we not like about it? Do we like is it a good path? Is there a condition issue? Kind of just really collecting data so that when we're ready to update that plan, we have all sorts of existing information that we can share with the consultant. And we're not having to do a whole data collection effort when they're here and ready to work on the plan.
So what I'm hearing is
can-
that what a lot of the proposals that showed up in the agenda today are working kind of towards that, but maybe we can just keep in mind that it's not that we're amending the current plan, it's that we're creating a whole bunch of stuff to have ready already when you guys ask for it. Essentially.
I think so. What I want to avoid is realistic expectations and setting everyone up for success. I think the worst case scenario, because your time is very valuable and you're a really helpful resources, and I'm so happy to have you as part of our team because we just don't have the staff in house to do everything. Is that you work on an amendment effort that just sits on the shelf because right now staff doesn't have a mechanism to amend any plans.
But to some degree, having it sitting on the shelf whenever you are ready would be a good thing.
Having the data would be.
It sounds like you want information to inform amendments that council might want to make. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it.
And
has
one reason for us to start on that, or have already started on it, is it takes 3 to 6 months to get something through this committee. When you're ready to get going, you don't want to wait 2 years as we grind through stuff. If the city has, for example, a 2010 pedestrian priority network. Okay, so we update it, we've got that ready. You know, it's there, it can be included as an appendix, it's, blah, blah, blah. So the bicycle network needs some work, the trail network needs some work. There are a variety of basic things that were included just superficially previously, where we can do the in-depth work. It can sit there and be ready for staff or council, however you want to cope with it, when you're ready to start. So we aren't going, wait, give us 2 years. We need to deal with this, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna second Molly there. I mean, the meetings that MTMP have had, and I thought what we broadcasted to the greater group was that what we've been working on is not, to be pitched to council to be approved right now. It's to be there when you guys need the information. So clearly there's a disconnect between us and council. So I don't know how to improve that, but I mean, we're exactly what Holly's asking for is what we are trying to provide. I am confused on, Holly, your point of collecting data. I don't know what data you want, and we can all walk around and, come up with some, I guess, qualitative data points, but I don't know. So I'm confused what you want, because I feel like what we're providing or trying to provide you guys is exactly what you're asking for right now, and that clearly was not pitched to council last week.
So to clarify one piece, I'm not here to set your goals and objectives, just things to consider. When you're looking at your goals and what you'd like to do, I would just offer that you might consider looking more broadly and less specific. So if your objective is to update our priority network, today the city uses that to plan our capital projects. So it's pretty specific. If you broadened your goals, we might be able to accomplish, we'd have the opportunity to maybe accomplish more or other things. So data collection, I think one thing we're missing is really documenting just what the pedestrian and bicycle experience is on our networks. What does it feel like walking on certain parts of town and other parts of town? That information could inform a pedestrian and bicycle priority network update. It could also inform a priority list on how we use our impact fees. It could also inform how we update our sidewalk code. It could also inform how we enforce our sidewalk, how we develop our forestry standards. So almost taking a step back instead of being outcome oriented at this point and saying we're updating our pedestrian network, it could be, what information is missing that can be used for many project updates, not just a priority network update. It could be used for a number of.
Well, isn't the priority network really important for all of those? Have you looked at our work? Have you looked at our document?
The pedestrian.
It has every street in the city in it.
That's
So
super helpful.
that can inform in lieu, it can inform sidewalks, it can inform street standards, it can inform whatever the city wants it to inform.
Yeah, and that example, like, it's right there for us. It's item number 3. It's the hard work of that subcommittee. And here it is. We can choose to adopt it, and if we do, that will inform our expenditure of in lieu dollars. Voila, it will also be there for when it's time to update the pedestrian priority network section of the multimodal,
So that
right?
seems
So
to
it's
me
actually working.
really useful. Yeah, like Eric said, that working group has done a lot of work. It's specific. It's ready for us to vote on it today. Are those the kind of data that admin and council are looking for? Or do you more want us to walk each street and tell you what it feels like walking it? I'm still a little confused here.
I'm not here, again, I'm not here to set the goals. I'm just trying to encourage that goals are set up so that we can be success.
Sally, could you speak a little louder?
This setting the goals and the objectives, is it the committee to set our own? Are we getting them from council? Are we getting them from staff? I've been on this committee since July and I have no idea.
And we submitted some that the council seemed to reject at its last meeting, so.
Honestly,
I'm
they
still
rejected
confused.
one of the bullet points, and that was largely on me because I don't really have the background on how our maintenance program works, but that's something people want to do every meeting and say, hey, this crosswalk needs help, or there's potholes here, or this on this bike path is crumbling, this, that, and the other thing. That bullet point is the one where I heard consensus that we should probably strike that. And in discussing with Holly and educating myself, I think we should strike that because they have a program in place, and this just creates confusion and undercuts the way that program flows. So everyone in the public all the time is the ears of the city on maintenance items, right?
Yeah.
Am I saying that right? Like,
Yeah.
that's the only thing that I heard council say, yeah, we should probably strike that. And that was really because they know how it works.
Agreed. So, not here to direct goals. It is inappropriate to have, operations. So we rely on our field staff for all of our operations, and it wouldn't be appropriate for a committee to come up with their work list. What would be more appropriate is if you do see issues, just report them. We have a city clerk line on our website. So if you're missing striped crosswalks, if there's signs that are missing that you have concerns, or if there's a part of downtown or a part of our town that feels unsafe walking, just report it to us and our staff take care of it.
So when you said report it to us, that's not a job of this committee. This is something you expect individuals to tell city staff.
Yes.
That can be part of our outreach. When we do outreach, we can tell people how to go about that.
That would be excellent. I would be great, Polly. Great.
And I just wanted to chime in and say that I didn't get the impression that council rejected your bullet points as much as just needed more information. And the timing was a little bit off. Like I said, we just started our strategic planning, so it's hard for us to direct this committee or any committee to really start on a project when we don't have a set list of council's priorities. Now, it was good timing in that you guys are our experts in the bike ped realm. And so the things that you think are important for this committee to take up are absolutely going to factor into our decision on the next steps for the strategic plan. Like I said, I can't speak for the whole council, but I think it's pretty likely that we are going to direct staff to amend the multimodal transportation plan. So the fact that you also identified that as a priority signals to council that it should be a priority.
Okay, well, any other questions about council or council priorities relative to ours at the moment? Yeah, I've gotten some clarity on this, and maybe we can continue to clarify it as we work through the rest of the agenda, but I've been doing a lot of talking here. Others present have questions or thoughts?
Seems like a lot of stuff's just being brought to us, like the developments or.
Right, that's gonna happen, that's always gonna happen, that's part of it, that's our core mission. So a lot of this is like, what else do we do? And there are limits on what we can take on. And frankly, if you took this list as a whole, it's a lot, it's too much. And I think our thinking was council's gonna narrow it down for us.
But we might have to wait till.
But the reality is, we're always gonna have our development review, we're always gonna have, as city capital improvement projects come forward, you guys are gonna get to take a look at those. And so it's like, what else do we think is the top priority? Parks had it easy because they just completed their kind of planning, a prioritized planning list, so that they pulled the top three that they thought they could afford and We're in a little different place. But I think it's a fun place. Like, I want to give an example of what we could be doing, like in preparation for street sections. You know, we can all go out and walk certain lines or transects and say, what's our favorite? Like, we got a lot of don't do this, don't do that. But what is working? Like, what are the best residential streets? We could get that information, like, and then we'll dig in and say, what's going on there? Why do we like it? Like, we can tease that stuff out and ultimately lead that street section conversation at the city.
That to highlight that, I can't express the value in that. When we develop standards, the why behind them is so powerful. So instead of getting caught up in 3 foot wide sidewalk, 5 foot wide, 6 foot wide sidewalk, 7, 8, those are just numbers. Understanding what the experience is and what we like and don't like to then support that standard when we develop it, that is powerful. That's the value, the why, the culture, the experience, like getting that as part of our standards is going to be critical versus us just throwing, we like 6 foot sidewalk because it seems like we like it. Really understand the why behind it, why we're putting resources here. Just collecting that data and those themes of what we like. I don't know what the outcome might be at this point, but it could inform are updating our minimum sidewalk standard from 4 feet to 6, or maybe we like 7 foot better. I see so much value in just getting why behind our standards before we just jump to affirming them.
And as far as getting the public input, that would come through you guys to do an open house or some sort of outreach. You have to direct us and help us to plan that. Right?
And correct, but this committee can be extremely helpful. I think this is one where we have to start with, we need some reason for that outreach. We have to, okay, what kind of information are we looking for? Then we all go get it. But we're not gonna, I don't think we wanna have an event, just
Well, we were talking about
Just
in
that.
lieu fees or where they would like to see improvements in their own experience too, so.
right.
Well, last month, the committee asked the MTMP working group to come back with a list of priorities, and we have it. It's in the notes. It would be nice if we got to that and evaluated that and maybe added the street standards or figured it out. Is it appropriate? Did the working committee do what you wanted? Is that helpful? It seems like we keep reinventing, and I think we're in a position to move forward a bit, and street standards definitely needs to be part of it. We started working 6 months ago on the pedestrian priorities. The committee has not really evaluated that and given its opinion on it and voted. That would be nice too. Speaking of not wasting time.
Yeah, I kind of feel like this conversation has gone as far as it can for me, as far as understanding what's coming from council. So I'd kind of like to move on through our agenda unless people have urgent further questions. Are we feeling okay on that? But before we do that, do we still have a very patient member of the public waiting to speak, Mandy?
She has given up until the next meeting. And I'll tell you, it's somebody who asked that our committee take up the whole striping thing because she says kids are walking to school without unstriped crosswalks, but she tells me she'll be back next month. And maybe Holly, if you would send me the link to the exact place where a citizen can recommend something on the website, I'll forward that.
Yeah, I can do that, absolutely.
Great.
Actually, people can come out in the meeting minutes so that everyone has access.
I would love to have it. Yeah, thank you, Amanda. If you could get those.
Not in the meeting minutes, I will send an email to everyone at bare minimum.
Thank you. All right, well then let's move on to our discussion and recommendation with respect to pedestrian priority streets. And I know we have this list in our packet. So who is on that working group that would like to present anything in particular to us about it?
Well, let me start, and Radley can take over any minute he wants. And Katie was part of it too, but she's not here. It's an update of what the council approved in 2010. And the goal was to identify every street in Sandpoint by its priority for pedestrians. And a lot of that's safety. And if you look at the high priority streets, and Eric, I don't know if you want to share a screen, many of them are high traffic, high volume, but also they go places and people need to use them. So safety for pedestrians is really important, and the ability to get around. We have a grid street system in much of Sandpoint, which means that people who walk can walk out their front door and go places. And they take a variety of routes, and all of those streets are important. And the ability, you don't open your garage door and walk someplace to where you pick up your car and drive it. You're able to drive your car out of your house. So you should be able to walk out of your house and bicycle out of your house and get to where you're going. So no street is unimportant for people walking and biking unless it's forbidden. And we don't have any of those because we don't have freeways. So we have a number of medium priority streets, and those are in the grid as well. And by identifying high priority here and there through the grid, we may be saying these are streets that would get funding spent on them sooner if needed. And then we have low priority streets, which are ones that were initially built without sidewalks during the period when the city was ignoring its own ordinance that sidewalks were required. And many of them don't go anywhere very important. So they're considered pretty safe for people to walk in the street. And we are suggesting that any dead-end street that's built that's not going to go through automatically, the last block of it, be a low priority street. And therefore, it's a source of in lieu funds. All the low priority streets are a source of in lieu funds because sidewalk shouldn't be built there. They should be contributing to where sidewalk is needed for them to get around safely and comfortably. And we're also suggesting that dead-end streets maybe we added a new sort of subcategory of play street, where maybe what makes it safe for a kid to have a basketball game or a volleyball game in the middle of the street? Maybe it's narrower, maybe it has a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit, maybe it has a speed table. I don't know. I'm just throwing out traffic calming things, but maybe none of them is needed. But that would be something we would be suggesting that is new. And we identified some important intersections where pedestrians are more vulnerable than in other places often. So that's what this is, a foundational document for making street standards decisions, spending decisions, in lieu decisions, etc.
Bradley, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I think Molly did a really good job presenting it.
So, to the extent committee members have had an opportunity to review it, any changes, additions? Because we are set to vote on adopting this today. Anyone want to make any changes to it?
I guess the only thing I want to say is like to Molly's point of collecting, Holly's point of collecting data is like, is this what you mean? I mean, like we've walked these streets, we know these streets, we feel like these are the priority in Sandpoint. I mean, it was already adopted by city council and we made some modifications based on things that have changed in the last 10 years. Is this the direction you're wanting us to go? Or is this totally off base?
This is helpful, and I haven't reviewed this. I think this is certainly something that we want. One of my questions would be, and I haven't been part of it. I would just be curious how it was developed. If we had a community engagement, or maybe we didn't need community engagement because we had comments from the public on other efforts.
This is an update of a previous draft, is it not, Molly?
From 2010.
Yes, it was approved by council in 2010, and there had been several years of public engagement for that, especially for the ones marked safe routes. We added spot streets. There wasn't spot then, but there has been definitely in the past.
Is this would you want us to gather more information? Would you want us to gather public input, for example, before finalizing this, given that it's been 16 years since the last update?
Truthfully, I don't know. I didn't, I wasn't prepared to have a review or any comments for you. And I also don't know if, it's appropriate for me to have any comments for you on this. So I don't have an answer to that.
I see Aaron's looking for guidance.
It's-
The
yeah.
truth is, I feel like the committee did a ton of work, and we should adopt this as a placeholder, understanding that when it comes time to update multimodal, we're gonna have two more years worth of information, knowledge changes, and we may update it, but this, just to have the committee be able to update or have this for our reference and use
And then,
and guidance and move on to something else. I think that's what this committee should do with this.
and if they want to ask us for more public input or something later, if they can. I have one edit I want to make to it. Nobody's going to be surprised by this.
Uh-oh.
We're crossings along Highway 2, Boyer, present configuration is awkward. I would like that word to be changed to dangerous. But other than that, I admire the committee for the work it's done, and I'm not going to insist that that change be made, but in my experience of it, it is extremely dangerous. I won't cross there anymore.
And that was listed in our survey we did to parents a while ago too. A lot of them said it was too dangerous for them to cross the highway.
I would motion to make that change.
That would be great. Excellent.
Okay. All right, so perhaps someone could move to accept this prioritization list as amended, changing the word awkward to dangerous on page 4. Someone able to do that?
So moved.
Thank you, Molly. Do we hear a second?
I'll second that.
Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? None opposed. The pedestrian priority streets plan is adopted. And now we're ready to move on to work team reports. I believe we have only one work team at this point. That is the MTMP group. Is that your understanding, Eric?
The only active one.
The only active one, okay.
That means there's only one.
All right.
And that was all the notes from the last.
Right.
Yeah.
And we have their notes from their meeting on January 26th. Again, Molly and Radley, do you want to just fill us in about this? We don't need to adopt or update anything here. We'd just like a little more detail on what you've been up to. And I think you had anticipating subdividing yourselves or maybe creating some more teams as an action item within your notes. So tell us more about that, please.
I'll speak up. Well, I guess we met, so we're on topic 4, right? What we actually talked about, isn't that going to be discussed in, I guess, topic 6, or should we talk about that now? I don't know.
Oh, guys, yeah, I'm sorry. I've kind of misled you, haven't I?
I don't think you misled me. It's just a little confusing how it's broken out. We
Confused
met
too.
to discuss, I think, what we're going to be discussing in topic 6. If we want to talk about 6 now, we definitely can.
Thank you. Maybe if you could just summarize this report for us for the moment, and then we'll put that off till topic 6.
Yeah, so we met to kind of, I guess, break down areas we saw the MTMP could be improved upon. We made a number of categories, and the goal was to, I guess, come to this meeting today and create a number of new working groups to work on those individual topics. Again, I don't know if that's appropriate anymore, but that's what we talked about.
Okay. Anything to add to that?
Essentially, we were asked to come back with some priorities for the MTMP. And so the ones in bold at the top are, and so the top one is now off the table, dealt with, but bicycle priority streets, trail network, capital improvement projects, incorporate complete streets policy more fully, street standards, I think has been added, and maybe something else gets taken away. And then we felt that a lot of the things that were discussed last time were really important, but they are now, we didn't put them in bold. Eric, can you show our notes, please? I was looking at my copy of them thinking everybody else saw it. Yeah, okay, so there we have that. These were the things that it seemed to us needed to be worked on first. It's not, and
The
then
bold ones were the
other
ones
things down below didn't seem like they were necessarily MTMP or quite as foundational, but all important. And so that just takes us right into, okay, so what's next? And as Radley said, since there's only one working group right now, we felt that there needed to be some more that dealt with other things. And Katie has volunteered to be part of the bicycle priority streets work, and probably also trail network would work into that.
So, Eric, I'm sorry you're right. This is kind of sixth. And it is, but I think we should continue on discussion of working groups here. If you don't mind waiting to do the general updates from staff until we're done.
No, absolutely not. That's
Okay.
not a problem.
Great. So can either of you or anyone in this room come up with descriptions of maybe 3 working groups that we might form at this time and what they might work on? Bicycle priority and trail priority, those seem small enough to me. But reviewing capital improvement projects and incorporating complete streets policy more fully in MTMP language, I'm not sure how those would work at this point.
And honestly, this is a really big one. And based on the council discussion at the last meeting, I think we got a little bit ahead of ourselves in terms of where the priorities are coming from. These are valuable because these are showing what the subcommittee, the work group holds high as priorities for us. And I think if the full body can look at that and let's use it. Let's try to come to what's important to us, but understanding ultimately this is not something that the council has taken up. So we need to pump the brakes a little bit. And I'm gonna suggest that we maybe take the working group, take the work that we just did on bike or on pedestrian and maybe spend some time on bikes and start with doing some research around bike networks, multimodal pathways, and again, be ahead of the game. I do think this is for Holly. Do you think that's something that would be most valuable because of the downtown streets work that is like happening soon? What can we be doing that is actually useful next?
So this committee has a big, helping us on our development reviews, reviewing our sidewalk projects, downtown revitalization phase 3 is gonna be a big part of that. So we'll have downtown First Avenue from Bridge Street south to Lake. There's a big multimodal component to that, not just the question of how do you get your 8-year-old to City Beach, but also a portion of that is part of a bike network. So how that might function, those are big tasks and big priorities that we're working on in this next year. So absolutely, it's a big effort. It's one of our biggest projects, and it's our biggest project for the year that the city's working on, so.
And that's right now that you're working.
We're kicking off the design, we have our our technical advisory group meeting, and you've elected one of yours to be kind of that liaison to be on that committee and group. That's gonna be a massive effort this year and huge support. So yeah, aligning your priority with that project would make a lot of sense.
So let me suggest something here. It seems like having a bike working group right now would be really useful. And I might, in absentia, nominate Katie to be on it because she's a bike queen. Other people might want to be on it as well. Trail network seems something within, small enough that we could, well enough defined that a working group could provide input on that. The review capital improvement projects, I don't see a working group working on that so much because Eric brings those to the whole committee. And then that last item here among the 4 priorities given us by this group is incorporating complete streets policy more fully in MTMP language. It doesn't sound, from what I've heard Holly saying, like writing language and policy at this point is helpful. So I'm not sure what kind of direction to give the MTMP working group at this point. I need something
So
more specific, either ideas from staff or council, or
I would love to see the pedestrian. MTMP has been working on the pedestrian piece. And I would love to see them, and I will get information from Holly about how much in lieu fee money there is, and see if we can find an in lieu project, like work towards something like that for this pedestrian folks. Is that something that we could do?
Absolutely, and just taking a step back, I think you might revisit this once you have your priorities. To develop work groups when you don't have your marching orders just sounds premature to me. Get solid goals, priorities, and then your working group should react to that, because the worst case scenario is there's work that's not used and it's put on a shelf. So make sure that we're all in alignment, you're in lockstep with council and their priorities. That way we're efficient and all of your work is going to good use because it's directed, it's a priority of council. You have staff working behind it and you have staff resources. It's not working in a silo alone.
so, and it sounds like bicycle feedback is useful priority right now, but I don't understand what other marching orders we have that we could make a priority. Do you?
You'll be reviewing the downtown revitalization phase 3, and I would love if that was a full committee effort and not just a work group.
So
I
it's
think
not a
all of
work
your
group,
voices
yeah.
So we'll bring to you that project. We'll also bring to you our Boyer sidewalk project. We have 2 of those going this year. And again, I think your feedback on, and that's a staff update I'll get into, like your feedback into those projects is going to be really valuable. Those are 3. We also have our division sidewalk and our 4th Ave sidewalk, which I know you've already been working on. So we've got some big tasks already coming your way for
For the whole
items.
group, right?
Yeah.
So maybe the bicycle working group is the only group we need just at the moment. Are you MTMP working group people going to be disappointed if you take some time off, shall I say, until we get more direction on that issue?
I think that makes a lot of sense personally.
Right. And Radley's involved in downtown. So, I think we'll have ad hoc working groups that work on things that come up.
But we don't need to form another one just at the moment, is my impression, Molly. Is that? I Does that make
I
sense?
wonder, I don't like where you were going a minute ago. I think it doesn't hurt to start a working group on bikes and trails. Because it'll take us 6 months to a year to get traction on that.
Mhm.
And maybe we don't have anything we bring here for 6 to 8 months, and that's okay. But like, maybe
So-
just like taking the pedestrian network document and starting to look at it as if, like, can we use this same platform to provide feedback? Do we need to do something else?
I'm
We
sorry,
can't-
you were on bicycle and now you're on pedestrian.
Taking that.
And the
same-
bicyclists use the pedestrian as a place to
Right, like
start.
saving time and taking that as a template and
Mhm.
staring at it as a bicyclist or cyclist. And saying, okay, what needs to be different? What different types of data would we bring? What does the city already have listed as trail networks and all that, and starting to just collect the baseline for that, even if we're not doing much with it yet, but just like having the starting point collected.
Sounds good to me. Would you like to be on that
That's
group?
great.
Is there anyone else?
And I have another thought that along those lines, while we're looking at bicycles, we should probably be looking at e-bikes. Electric
Right, yeah.
scooters, electric
So wheels,
weight skateboards,
yeah, we can call it wheels.
So who would like to be in the wheeled group?
I'll have a lot of feedback right now.
I would like to be on that game.
Would you be willing to contact Katie? Cause I think she would have a lot to bring to it.
She
And,
would like to be on that.
pardon
yes.
me? Yeah, I would think she
Katie
would.
has volunteered for that.
Right, and, Aaron, Bradley, either of you have interest? It might be helpful to have a third person.
I'll stick to
All
Tam
right,
for
I'll
now.
do it, she said foolishly. But pardon me? Did you say you'd do it, Radley?
No, I said I'm gonna stick to tag for now.
Okay,
Want to at least help us think through it.
Were you starting to volunteer?
I'll do it. I'm having a total knee replacement in 6 days, so.
You'll be sitting around bored. You have something to do.
But I like to ride bikes, so, yeah, if you and Katie could come up with a time, maybe I could attend at least initially by Zoom. That would be cool.
And then
Thank you.
yeah, if one of you needs to follow out in a couple months, I might be better. So if one of you needs help, contact me and all. In a couple months, I should have more time.
Okay,
Right now, I'm
all right.
really busy.
I think that is sufficient as far as work teams for the moment. The MTMP work team is holding itself in abeyance for the moment, and the the bicycle work team is, the wheels work
Yes.
team is getting going. Thank you. So, thanks for your patience as I kind of scrambled the agenda there. I appreciate it. Eric, I think we're finally ready for general updates from you, and if we have time, we may have to put this CUP recommendation off till next month, but maybe we can squeeze it in.
You know, I'm gonna be very quick and I'm gonna go right from one to the other if it looks like I have the floor. Updates from staff. There's not a whole lot to update, in terms of applications, but there's some big stuff happening in planning land. Paying attention to what the planning commission has been working on. And I've yet to see where the council goes with the RM zoning district standards. There was talk about the lot sizes and lot coverages, and it sounds like that's a council maybe coming up at the next council meeting or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I haven't seen the agenda yet. And
The big impacts there relative to us are just housing and where people end up. And it impacts ADUs, lot sizes, building sizes, that kind of thing. And then the other thing P and Z is taken up is the downtown zoning district. including historic. And that will have really big changes for us, at least as far as planning goes, to the way we regulate development downtown. And we have so far, like, it looks like a downtown core zone and then an outer core, which would have different standards. One of the main principles of the downtown core is just to have continuous frontages, which is, you know, walkability, to have an interesting walk, to be able to not be walking by big blank walls. If you think about, you know, walking on the backside of Safeway or something like that, not a lovely walk, right? And traditionally downtowns have had continuity in their character. And basically one of the things that has been loud and clear from the council and the public has been really trying to preserve traditional, functional downtown charm, character, everything people love about Sandpoint. And downtown really is where a lot of that happens. So that is a big thing. It's working through P&Z. Pay attention. It will impact how many people can live downtown. It'll impact our tax base and our everything moving forward. So that's a big one. What else in terms of updates? Ridley Village that you all looked at is a 56 unit planned unit development that is going to be going before Planning Commission next month and then to City Council. Ultimately, that is off of Ridley Road. I'm not sure if everyone was on the committee when that first came forward, but it will create connectivity, some east-west connectivity, and kind of an expansion of South Sandpoint and connecting to Division from Ridley Village Road, where there was previously no connectivity. The council choice on that was ultimately to have one through street and one through multi-use path. Where there is some interior streets to the PUD, but the through connection is a multi-use path on the northern street by the school. So
kids can get to school without going on the highway.
yeah, so that'll be coming to the Planning Commission and Council. I think that's it for my updates. What I wanted to bring up and talk about is a tribute conditional use permit, and I do want to talk about it today if we can, because that'll probably be going to the Planning Commission before our next meeting. So let me pull that up.
I was actually hoping to give an update, kind of steal your staff update, Eric. I'll be brief.
Do it. Perfect. Well, I'm pulling stuff up.
I spoke to it earlier, so we have our downtown phase 3 revitalization that's kicking off. You're aware, and you've elected someone to be part of that technical advisory group. One thing we'll be looking at, and a big decision we'll need to make early, is priorities. What's important to our community? So in our downtown, we're prioritizing pedestrians, bicycles, vehicles, sidewalk cafes. We have limited right of way to accomplish all of that. So your voice and opinion is going to be really critical in identifying what's important to our community and therefore how much of each user group takes up how much space. So stay tuned. The first technical advisory group meeting is scheduled, I think, the first week in March. But that's going to be one decision we're going to have to make really early on. So just kind of teeing up that project for you. The other project we have, you've heard about it before. It was presented to you by Brandon Staglin, our previous city engineer. This is Division. Aaron, this project's for you. Right across from the schools, we're going to put in sidewalk from where we left off phase 1, continue those improvements at Superior on the east side to get to Pine Street. These are grant dollars, and we're up against a really tight deadline. Our city engineer was planning to finalize those documents before he left. Did not work out in his workload. So we have a contract engineer finalizing those plans And so we'll get that to council and out to bid as soon as we can this spring, so that we can do construction in the summer. So more to come on all of these things, but just a high level what we're doing. Our other two sidewalk projects that we're gonna focus on this year are both on Boyer. We have across if you're familiar with where Pisney just relocated on Boyer, on the west side, just north of the tracks. We've got connectivity that we're gonna get sidewalk from there up to Baldy. And hopefully we can cross the tracks on the south, and so we've got full connectivity on Boyer, that's the plan. That is a SURA funded project, so we're kicking off design and hopefully construction this year, so big efforts on that project. On the west side, sorry, on the west side where Disney is, and then I'm gonna bounce over to the east side. And I'm definitely gonna need some help on this project and some insight and get you guys thinking about it. On the east side of Boyer, now we're Baldy Mountain North. We have some gaps in our connectivity where we go from pathway to sidewalk. We have grant dollars, TAP grant dollars, to complete that connectivity. We have 2 years to do this project, so we're just starting the design. We need to make some decisions on, do we go pathway or do we go sidewalk? There's some low hanging fruit where we go sidewalk to get that project done, but we want to make sure we're not missing opportunities for multimodal connectivity. So just I wanted to throw those out there. Those are 4 big initiatives this year that we'll be bringing to you from Public Works.
Thanks. All right, I think I can be brief enough. We can get through this.
You're just looking for feedback, right?
Yeah, and this is one that's actually been through the process before. It was a resubmission of an old application, but there are some changes to it that I'm gonna highlight the changes. But this site, if people can see that, I'm gonna zoom in from what you can see, is across from the school on Boyer,
LPO.
across from LPO. And
Is that the snow storage?
so
area by
the
Super
snow
Bowl?
storage is actually next to it.
To the right.
So
Okay.
between this project and the backside of Super One is where the snow storage is. And you'll see with this project, it connects to, there's multifamily here. One of the highlights from this committee's perspective is there's an existing multi-use path along the west side. And because this project went through the process previously, they had committed to an easement connecting that path over to Boyer. And then that multi-use path will go all the way up Boyer to Holly's new grant money when we get it. It's kind of important. I think it's probably the most important point of this discussion is when I looked at this with the city engineer, it made sense because there's no multi-use bike path to the south on Boyer, and there's existing bike lanes to the south on Boyer. So bike lanes, really good for me. Some of my road bike friends, not so good. I think that's the nuance of this. For someone pulling a 2-year-old in a stroller, and the multi-use path really serves that purpose, and it does exist for the most part, and it just needs to be extended and landscaped and improved. Get more people using it. But ultimately that goes and connects to 6th and over to the existing Dover path. So we're looking at networks. I think it's a good fit. There's a future opportunity for the city if we can ever purchase the old railroad right away that goes behind. It goes between this project and like the hotel and the burger joint. It's a natural extension of the Dover path, but there are old train tracks through there. And if we could ever get those, then this would tie right into that. So it's kind of a nice little piece of our network. What else about the project? One of the things we've seen in the past, and I will jump back, our city code commercial B requires retail storefronts. We did make these guys build that. It is completely not viable, but I went to a yard sale there once. But by deeming, when we looked at this a second time, by deeming the street instead of Boyer, which does not have on-street parking, but by deeming the perpendicular street, the primary commercial frontage, we anticipate there may be some ability to have actual viable retail, and then it'll be more of a residential frontage along the balance of Boyer. So it is a little bit of a change up from the original application. But between the two
Eric,
buildings.
may I ask
Yes.
about that intersection you just showed? I didn't see a crossing Boyer, a mid-block crossing. If there's going to be retail, there will be people crossing there.
So it will not be, it's not mid-block, but that is one of the conditions that we will put on there. Basically, they will need an approved public infrastructure permit, and I don't see.
Okay, so they'll cross each
I
direction.
don't see ramps there either, but that stuff, that is not detailed. This is the artistic renderings,
Got it.
but
Thank you.
they will definitely be part of this.
Thank
There
you.
might be ramps there.
There may be ramps there already.
Yeah, I think there is.
Will there be an actual stoplight or one of those like we have on Highway 2, a pedestrian activated light?
No.
Hybrid.
I mean, it's not proposed.
So it's just a striped crosswalk?
Yeah.
Well, with the
Wow.
yeah, that's a really good point, Kate.
Right by Super One
And-
already.
Yeah.
An
Yeah, I mean,
RRFB might be a great idea right there with the high school and a block, Hickory Street Park a block away.
I don't know if there are any on Boyer.
With-
Currently,
We're in that, transportation grant that we have, we did budget to put RFBs, at Baldy. Or sorry, Mountain View. I think it's at Mountain View.
To further north.
Yeah.
This is not directly across Millview, right? This is.
it is pretty much.
Yeah, it's just a tiny bit.
So would we expect them to come and cross at the traffic circle? I mean, Bellevue is south of Chestnut. Is it?
So no.
It's kind of diagonal.
Is it?
We would expect them to cross right there. At the school.
And that, just with the crosswalk.
That's.
That seemed insufficient to me. Yes, Kate. For Boyer, this is.
So what's that say about Boyer, and what do we need to do to improve that circumstance, I guess? I mean, long-term, we are looking at other ways to get trucks out and so forth, but there are existing crossings all over Boyer, so I guess to the extent that this gets built, it will definitely help to add some friction to that.
Yeah,
But you need
But-
crossings where people cross. I mean, just because
yeah.
there's one down at Hickory doesn't mean it helps at Chestnut.
And there will be a crossing here, and I believe that's where people will cross, at least if they go to school.
Right. So an
Um,
RFB there would be really helpful. Because you're going to
Is
have
that-
origins and destinations on both sides.
Eric, is that under the CUP process, is that a comment that
So
we can make?
It-
or
it is.
require, or-
it could be a recommendation to the planning commission, basically, is that how I have this structured. And it will show up in my staff report as such.
Okay, so under the CUP process, there is a mechanism.
Yes.
To add improvements.
so then is it on Chestnut that the storefronts will be and the parking will be? And you
Yes.
showed us a picture of a sidewalk
Yes.
and, a
Yes, so
parking strip with trees and grass, that's to the right there.
that's just to the right of that.
So that
let's see, yeah, that's really where you would focus to see what that might look like.
Mhm.
And that's considered retail space, not the lower story.
Basically, our code says,
Non-residential.
our code says non-residential. And there are question marks about, you can only support so much retail, right? This many rooftops will support so many square feet of retail. And that's where the applicant believes that on the corner that is viable, coffee shop, something small, but not likely, this is not downtown, and some of what our code section implies that downtown needs to be everywhere, and frankly, the market will not support that much, so we need to be somewhat careful and what we require.
But that's not an issue for this committee.
Correct.
Is that,
Not unless it is an issue for this committee. I mean, to the extent it impacts pedestrian experience, I guess it is. But what,
well, a lot of empty storefronts will not generate a pleasant pedestrian experience,
Yeah.
but we're not in a position to say you don't have to put storefronts there, are we?
I mean, you could actually, we can't say none, but I think what I'm hearing is you generally support a reduced linear storefront, and I think it really does provide an opportunity to make Boyer calmer in that vicinity. I mean, this is
If there were no storefronts there.
no storefronts, I think
Less.
Limited store.
limited storefronts.
I thought you said the storefronts were gonna be on Chestnut, not on Boyer, is
Yes, and Chestnut is a much shorter access. So this project, this is the Chestnut axis. And this is the Boyer
right.
axis. So it's it would be the corner and Chestnut, which.
That's not what they've actually got in the red, or what am I not? Can we just look at some of the other?
So he was saying when he started his presentation that the original plan
Right,
was along Boyer, but now they're trying to come back and flip it for these reasons that were
Okay, so the
discussed.
documents that are in there now, are not showing that on Chestnut. They're showing it on Boyer.
correct.
So this is.
The original submission came in with that, but what they really had instead of retail was basically they had storage units in there for residents.
Yeah.
So
I
we
think
were able to work with them and they like it too, because it's actually more residential units, which is also a good thing for our neighborhood.
I think that from this, and I'm speaking for myself, but from a committee member's point of view, as someone who walks and bikes for most of their shopping, having it on Chestnut is a no-brainer. Because I will not go try to shop anything on Boyer. But if I'm going to Super One and, I can bike this path around to the back to pick up, I don't know, I'm trying to think what I would pick up, but I don't know, like
Pickles.
the vitamins,
You pick up
pickles. Yeah, pickles,
Oh, that's-
pickles are good.
Or pickles.
Anything like that with a multi-use path leading there, and I don't have to go on Boyer. And I can walk up and down a nicely landscaped little frontage.
I agree, that
That
makes
makes
total
so much
sense. I don't like biking on Boyer.
So what I'm still confused, because this is dated August last year.
Right.
The non-residential floor plan for the front. And it's all like game rooms and eating rooms and things.
Right.
It's not.
So that was the original application documents.
August.
Those have been,
August of 25.
right,
Yeah.
those have been revised.
Okay. But those aren't available publicly then.
So they are,
But it's not available publicly.
And Eric, we're
Yeah.
also interested in the bike parking for those residences.
those will all be public. So the revised versions will be put up. Thank you, Molly. Go ahead.
We're also interested in the bike parking for those residents,
Yes.
What else
Covered.
has been made?
close to their doors. Ample,
Maybe some bike parking for people shopping at those,
that'll be
little-
required. That's
little
required, I think.
places.
But we want to make sure that if you live there, you can have a $3,000 bike and ride it.
Oh, yeah, there's.
So They only have 4 bikes and all those people.
Yeah.
So we do have standards on that, but to the extent, like, I think the recommendation that it be covered,
Walkable.
is potentially valuable.
Yeah. Otherwise, people with bikes are gonna take them into their units. They need good bike parking.
Yeah, I don't know how many units are planned, especially for increasing residential space, but say some of those spaces are gonna have 4 to 8 bikes.
One of the things that's interesting about this project, and we do want to wrap up, so I wanted some concise recommendations here. But each unit has kind of an exterior storage area, which I don't know if that can support bikes or not in the design. We can ask them that question. But it's kind of interesting. It's good for little toys that people have.
Yeah. So, just to summarize, I would say, it sounds like we're very supportive of the idea of moving the storefronts around onto Chestnut. And it doesn't look to me like there's sufficient or sufficiently secure bike parking.
Well,
So that, I don't know what more we can ask the developers to do, but that does sound important.
Short of people using their storage spaces, but there could be some.
okay. That we can do. Anything else? I think the other one loud and clear is the Boyer crossing and how does that, is an RFP
Right.
possible?
Yeah.
Are they still proposing a turn lane there? Because I was reading somewhere in here that they were talking about putting a turn lane on Boyer.
That wasn't the original recommendation. I know that is kind of counter to pedestrian crossings safety, but we can,
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you, I said, like, we're trying to figure out how to get people over to the high school, right? If you cross Chestnut and then Boyer, does that move you away from that turn lane?
potentially.
Yeah, but will people do it?
Well, I mean, they gotta either go across Boyer and then across Chestnut on the other side, or, so.
People will end up using the route that feels safest. So if it feels safer to do that,
Yeah, I mean, to me, a left turn lane coming south into there would make sense. But. So I would say our recommendation on where the crosswalks or what do we call the
RFID,
RFID?
something like that.
Rapid repeating.
RFP or
Whatever, the
fluctuating
flashing,
in their
Flashing.
on-demand flashing one.
Yeah.
You know, to move, if they do a turn lane, to move those to where they're not crossing the turn. I would not like to move that across 3 lanes of traffic, so,
and we don't have to detail that
no, but
here, but I think it's loud and clear that crossing
It's
that
something
is
we're concerned
useful
about.
is really important to the committee. Anything else?
Wow,
Okay, you have to go.
I do. Thank you, Eric, for being so succinct, and the rest of y'all. I thought this was really productive. It really helped me get through some of the things that were confusing after the city council meeting, so thank you for that, Kyle. If there is no further business,
This is a motion.
did we not have an official motion?
I have the tribute CHP as
a action item?
recommendation.
Do you need an official motion on that?
Give me a motion in a second. Do it.
Okay.
Please.
I move that we recommend careful consideration, including an RRFB for crossing Boyer, storefronts on Chestnut, and more secure bicycle parking for CUP 25-001 Boyer multifamily.
Second.
Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Thank you, Mandy. And then, with no further business, I now adjourn this meeting at 1:01 PM. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah.